This is a presentation I'll be giving at the ACS Denver Spring Meeting, uh, and is in regards to how I use a platform called Kudos and take responsibility for marketing my publications and potentially increasing the impact that I may be having on the scientific community. Increasingly, we hear the scientists need to be measured by impact. There's lots of discussions that have gone on for a number of years now regarding how scientists should be measured. My judgments, I think they parallel some others, and there are many other comments made about what impact means. For sure, the metrics are changing. My belief is that the impact that you have is way more than how many papers you've published, in what journals, and with what impact factors. My own opinion of what I've contributed over the years is both to the world of NMR, where I've made a lot of contributions, not all of it published, as well as working on ChemSpider and Open Science, and not all of it's published. So I think my impact is very different. We're living in a time where collaboration is certainly more necessary than ever. Researchers, I believe, do not work hard enough to share their research, teachings, or their data outside of the publication process. Not all scientists, that is the general judgment for sure, but I believe many do not work hard enough to share their research, teachings, or their data. They give presentations, they write up their publications, and we have vehicles today to share in different ways. And certainly there are so many platforms that could be used for this. Blogging and SlideShare presentations, YouTube, etc., etc. Some scientists are really grabbing onto this and doing an excellent job. So the Altmetrics Manifesto that you can find online talks about impact in terms of not only your work that you've published and your citations, but maybe the sharing of code, your peer review activities, what you've shared online, for example, data, figures, graphs, presentations, videos, etc., how often they viewed, downloaded. There are lots of ways that impact can be measured, and certainly one I think has to be considered is, do you train the scientists of the future, and what did they go on to do? Certainly what they go on to do is very much their activity. However, what have you influenced? How many students come out of your labs and go on to make great discoveries, etc., etc. So there's many ways to measure impact. And NISO themselves are getting very interested in altmetrics, and there was a white paper in June of last year that is available online. All of these slides will be made available so that people can download the slide deck, so the links at the bottom here. And there are platforms becoming available to look at people's impact, and I will review these a little bit. So research outputs don't only have the papers as the primary outputs, of course. So we've got lots of research data sets that might not get published, but could be shared. We've got software that could be developed, and certainly we have ways to share open source software today, things like GitHub, etc. Lots of posters and presentations delivered at conferences that we have ways to share those today. We've got the theses, the dissertations, the performances in film and audio, even massive online courses, etc. There's lots of research outputs that can be made available today. And I have tested out a number of platforms. This is just shows some of the ways that my activities are measured, and we've got Google Scholar, and we've got ResearchGate, and PlumX, Impact Story, and all of these are looking at different ways of measuring my impact. Some of them attempt to give me a score. You can see the ResearchGate score here, 40.3, whatever that means, and it is fairly well described. It's not the score that matters, it is the fact that I now have a ways to disseminate information that are above and beyond my publications that hopefully will be of value to other people. Impact Story has come a long way. I particularly like this, and every time I go back to the site, the interface has changed slightly. They've done a wonderful job. And what they do is they gather together papers, publications from various sources, data sets, figures, and bring together the stats of usage and downloads, etc. And this shows an example of some of my articles, and highly cited, saved, discussed, etc., etc. Plum Analytics also doing an excellent job. This is a different type of platform. They're aggregating data, I'm assuming in similar ways. I don't know the technical details. So they pull together my articles, presentations, videos, books, figures, etc., etc., and they give you lots of usage details. And also the interface changes regularly, so these are all screenshots. I want to think about when we do research, how much work is done generating and analyzing the data. And then if we write this up, how much work do we do to write up a publication, to go through the peer review process, to deal with the peer reviewers' comments, to resubmit. It could be months, if not years, to get an article published. It could go through multiple publishers' hands. So it's a lot of work to do all the work, write it up, and get to the point where it's actually exposed to the scientific community. So with so much work, you would think we would work very hard to make sure that people got awareness of the fact that it was available. So is self-marketing of value? I would say yes. We all do it in various ways in our private lives. If we want to start dating, if we want to be on committees, etc., of course we self-market. But how much work do you put into your own scientific profile relative to maybe keeping your entire family aware of what you're doing this week, with your children, for example, on Facebook? How much work is done post-publication to share your publications with the community? And not only publications, but presentations, data, etc. And I will clarify that just because things are visible does not mean that it's necessarily better science. As an example, this publication was highly visible. Some of you may remember this story, performing oxidation using a reducing agent, sodium hydride. And the blogosphere picked this up. They talked about it. Work was done. The work was reproduced. It was blogged a couple of times at least. The work was redone. Real analytical data was generated, and eventually the manuscript was withdrawn. There's many examples of papers like this which were written up and then eventually retracted. Very highly visible, but not necessarily excellent science. But it is the nature of science. We do make mistakes in science. We misinterpret. So the question is, are scientists actually interested in self-marketing? I fairly commonly hear, no, that's not the type of things that people would do. Science is pure, etc., etc. But when we asked researchers, 4,000 researchers, then 84% said yes. More should be done to increase the visibility, usage, and impact of their work. And 75% would use tools to increase publication performance. The measures are the metrics of publication performance. So Kudos is a platform that's available online. It's been available. I was using it last year. It's at growkudos.com. And basically it's to explain, enhance, and share your articles. It allows you to connect your articles to things about the article. Maybe blog posts, commentaries, reviews, maybe presentations you give related to the article, maybe new data, maybe a reinterpretation of the data that you choose not to publish, maybe not even issue an errata about some of the data, because sometimes people just don't do that. And as well as tools to measure the visits, the views, and how much the article is shared. So this is my profile. You can see my co-authors listed on the right-hand side. You can see some of my claimed articles. This is as of this morning. This is brand new. I've just released a book on structural elucidation with a colleague of mine, and it's already found each of the chapters that we authored. You can claim all of the articles, assuming you have already claimed an ORCID and you have aggregated your article collection together. You can bring your articles over directly from ORCID, or you have a manual claiming process where you can choose to add to your Kudos profile. And this is what you go through. You explain your article more in a lay person's point of view. I tend to stick with the fact that my community would be chemists. Then you can enrich your article by adding things to it. Then you can share that article in various ways out to the social media. And then you can measure whether or not people are paying any attention to what you've done via the Kudos platform. So here's part of my profile. All of the red crosses means I haven't yet done anything around these articles. This is an old screenshot. I'm choosing to pay attention specifically to one article, which I'll explain later, and I'm going to claim it. Well, I've already claimed it. I'm going to explain about it, and I'm going to enrich it. So this is the article. It's an article on +1. It was regarding dispensing processes. We thought it was interesting science, but we went on to show that it was actually very important science. It's been picked up a number of places, and we've used social media to self-market this article, if you wish. So we had a number of articles, number of views rather quickly. We posted to Facebook and Mendeley and Twitter, and people picked it up and started talking about it. When Derek Lowe in the pipeline picks it up and starts telling a story about it with the opening line, "There's a truly disturbing paper out in +1," then that drove traffic fairly quickly. My co-author and friend Sean Akins, he wrote up a blog post about this, and you can see the leap here that happens at, you see the label here, right here, Derek Lowe published his blog, and this is massive surge to Sean's blog. And this is the power of social networking tools for highlighting articles. The altmetrics going up fairly quickly. It was picked up by news outlets, Facebook pages, and this was all before we'd actually Kudos the article. Okay? So what comes later? So I claimed the article, simple process. I added a short title, told the readers in more simple language what it was about. Commonly, I take an abstract of the abstract, and then outline the significance of the publication. Enrichment means add a title, add a URL, select what type of resource it is, and give it a short description. So as an example, from the article now, so the article was published, then there was a blog post about it. You link to the URL, and you give a description about what Derek said about it. So what I'm doing now is I'm citing from the article forward to all the things that came later. Forward citation, if you wish. Forward linking, enrichment. This is not something you can do at a publisher's page in general. And then I added others. One example here is very interesting, is the fact that somebody called John Cadera, who we didn't know, we weren't involved with in collaborating with him at all, chose to take the data from the paper and model up some of his questions. And the question was the error on the different dispensing processes of pipette-based dispensing versus acoustic dispensing, could the errors in the measurement process via dispensing, could they be modeled and explain the differences we were seeing? And basically, if we delivered the material via acoustic dispensing, we could model a pharmacophore. If it was delivered via pipette tip, it could not be modeled. And the question was why. So you're adding this whole series of new things related to the paper that we've got here at the top. Sean's blog post by myself, Derek Lowe's blog post, and more and more. Then once we've claimed the article and enriched it, then we share it via Twitter or Facebook, post it out. That drives traffic to the Kudos page, or you can drive traffic directly to the article. The article metrics on the +1 site directly will reflect this, of course, and the Kudos platform also captures the metrics. And it gives you trackable links. So this is how you actually track the impact from the actual sharing and the enrichment. And that usage and citation information is, of course, what we're interested in. Is my article having an impact? This gets picked up, of course, later by Impact Story, by Plum Analytics, and by Altmetrics. So they all reflect, they're all linking together in this incredible network today. This is an example of following enrichment on 17th of June, and so claiming and enriching, and then releasing that information out to the social networks, what happened. And there were almost 80 views within 15 hours. And there were 20 share referrals, so this was shared with other people, which in theory is going to drive traffic to the article. There's a question about how many people read the article when they get there versus just look at the page. We don't know. So now we have pre we have article charts that track the growth in the Kudos access, as well as the activities and where the alt metrics are actually jumping up with time and what is happening there. So all of this is available on the Kudos platform. And it does continue to grow long term. This is, again, the dispensing process article. It's been on for about over a year now on the Kudos platform, and it still continues to grow. So this is not something that happens once in a very short period. It actually continues. So my particular interest is in this a publication as a point in time, and then the things that come later. So what about if you could link your publication to other things that may have been generated historically, but also that follow later? What about later work? What about ELN pages where you revisit some of the data? What about blog posts that other people make about your work, which of course I've covered, and then other people's related publications. In publications today, we have a reference list that lists back to things that we've used when we wrote the publication. We have no way of taking a publication and linking forward, and that's the exciting part. This is that story of John Kadira modeling up. He wrote this up on the Python, the IPython site, I believe it was. He wrote all the code. This is all available for people to download and use and run through. And his conclusions were that actually the errors in the measurement process, so the pipette versus acoustic dispensing, would not explain what we are seeing, which is great. It's validation for our conclusions. Of course, this is never really complete. So 2, 3, 5 years down the line, more work could follow up on this that could be very exciting, that could be linked to this. Specifically, we would love somebody, probably in mass spectrometry, to work with us to identify the compounds binding to the pipette tip. And if we got that, we would probably publish that, or we would present on it, and then we would link that here also. And again, never really complete. It could go on for years. This is a more recent example where working with Chris Lipinski, who I'm sure many of you know, and Alex Clark, Sean Eakins, people I work with regularly, Chris Southern. So we wrote up an article regarding this, what we're entitling the parallel worlds of public and commercial bioactive data. There's a lot of bioactive chemistry data in the public domain today via PubChem, Campbell, etc. And there are, of course, lots of data available in platforms like SciFinder. And CAS has been indexing prophetic substances for a number of years now. This is a blog post in 2009. We wrote up an article concerning whether or not prophetic substances and the release of bioactivity data was causing some confusion. It turned out this article looks very important based on altmetrics, ranked to number 6 of almost 2,700 articles on Journal of Medicinal Chemistry. It's been picked up again by Derek Lowe. There's a very interesting comment here about the particular patent that we referred to. I was wondering about that damn Goldfarb patent. It shows up nearly every time I do a SciFinder search. The story has continued. There are lots of comments, lots of blog posts now, and we've actually been asked to change the paper and issue an errata, but we don't believe it's appropriate, and the story will continue, and we will link it all to Kudos in the very near future. How fast can you have an impact on your altmetrics? So here's a set of articles with no altmetrics. They're all scored 0 down here, except for this one right here. I pushed it out, and within 48 hours I was able to get one of these articles. This has got an altmetric score of 7 from 0. And how did I do it? Well, it's literally using terminology. Within 6 months, I had improved my altmetric scores. It's very simple. I just tweet the article from Kudos. It grows. For sure, I'm influencing it directly. People retweeting influences it directly. Is this valuable? Does it mean people are reading the article? Probably not. I don't think most people read the article. And silly titles make a difference. In this case, it had the term fuzzy, and I used the term fuzzy in the tweet, and it attracted attention. But I really don't believe people went to read the article. But it all happened within 48 hours. So Altmetric to 8 within 48 hours. And here we have an example of silly titles. So we've got Bat Fellatio viewed almost 350,000 times. I mean, viewed as it were. And yes, I doubt that 337,000 people have read this particular article. So views does not mean reads. Altmetrics have all types of issues. But within 2 weeks, all of these articles that I had flagged up had got 45 share referrals, and if only 5% of people are reading these, I've improved it. So is exposure important? Yes, I believe it is. I believe if you write good science and you can share it and people can find it, that's good. Visibility is a good thing. Discoverability is a good thing. You can call it gaming if you wish. You can call it savvy, knowing how to share your articles and get people to get to them. That's a choice. Kudos early results in 2014 showed that if you Kudos your article, you get 25% more click-throughs from Kudos to the publisher site when you enrich your articles. So it is a value. And consider, if this particular article was Kudosed, claimed and Kudosed, rather than it just saying the manuscript has been withdrawn for scientific reasons, then you have all the blog posts, all the discussions, all the commentaries linked to this that you can go read. Instead, you come to the ACS page and that's what you have, which is pretty limited. So my conclusions are there is definitely value in Kudosing articles. There is work to do it, but relative to the work of doing all the science, the research, the data analysis, it's minuscule. Maybe a couple of hours max. There are no downsides to participating that I can see. Kudos is free to all of the authors. So you go set up your account, claim your articles, and start telling stories about them. And it certainly helps you develop a social profile online, which today I believe is increasingly valuable to scientists. And for me, what's most exciting is I can take a publication in any point in time and then enrich it and link to later work. That I believe is very valuable. Thank you. I hope this has been useful.